Welcome to Newbie Sports. Bowl season has officially concluded. Bowls are bowls, playoffs are playoffs. Don't even get me started. Anyways, bowl season has officially concluded, and I've learned several things throughout this bowl season. First and foremost, I need to space out my notes much more than I have, and I need to use several more pages so that I'm actually able to read these notes. But there's that. The other thing that I've learned this year is I need to refrain from smack talking until we have all of the data. And now that we have all of the data, the SEC kind of sucks, don't they? Or at least they did this year. Looks like super disappointing bowl season for the SEC. But we'll break all that down later on in this video. I got to start off with the FCS championship game is on Monday between Illinois State and Montana State, and I thought I'd make a prediction of that just for fun. So the prediction for that is going to be Montana State is going to win this. And I just hit my tripod, which bumped the camera. Just professional production right here. But yeah, Montana State's going to win this. I'm going to predict it 36-24. But yeah, FCS championship game, and yeah, there's that. Good luck to the two FCS participants in that championship game, and we got to talk about the BYU situation because I'm a BYU guy for just a little bit before we get into the bowls and then the playoffs and my thoughts on the SEC specifically. The defensive situation at BYU is not good. It's not good. Jay Hill went over to the University of Utah, and that is big bad news for BYU. I know everybody loves Kalani. I love Kalani. He's a locker room, just boosts the energy of everyone he's around, and he's a wonderful guy. He's a wonderful coach. He's given us 2 double-digit seasons in a row. I think Jay Hill had a significantly larger role in the last 2 years of success than Kalani Sitake. I'm just being real with you. I love Kalani. He's a wonderful person. He was worth every bit of effort to get him to stay at BYU. I think we're going to have a rough season next year because we don't have Jay Hill. I think he played a significantly larger role in BYU's success than Kalani Sitake. We'll see how Michigan does. I think they're kind of a mismatch of the island of misfit toys is how I've looked at the coaching staff here. Now, don't get me wrong. Of the coaches that were available, Kyle Whittingham is absolutely the best coach that was available. Michigan got a steal by being able to get him. And the athletic director at Utah, what are you doing? What are you doing? Not quite ready to call for that man's job, but bad choice in letting Kyle get away. Bad choice in letting Kyle get away. We'll see how Michigan does, but Kyle Whittingham was absolutely the best coach available in college sports, in college football. Anyone who wasn't already solidly involved in the program, anyone who was leaving or all that kinds of stuff, Kyle Whittingham absolutely was the best coach in coach free agency, I guess, in this very chaotic coaching portal. So we'll see how the Cougs do. We'll see how we're able to replace Jay Hill. I don't think there's much we can do to replace Jay Hill. And I think the Cougars are in big trouble. Big trouble next year. But we'll find out. We will for sure find out. On to the Bulls. I missed a couple of games. I missed a prediction for the NC State and Memphis. Good job, NC State. I also missed Boise State and Washington. I wanted to make a prediction for all of the Power 4 teams and a few of the ones that I was wanting to pay attention to. And I missed those Power 4 in my predictions. And my points are a little off here. But just I'm only going to break down a few of the games, but my total points, quite abysmal with the number of predictions that I made. Before today, I had 10.5 points in the bowl games, and then I think I have 3 points in all the playoff games. So, not great. Not great. I have more than 3 in the playoffs. We'll scrap points for this video. Let's just talk about the good games of this. But man, Penn State being able to cap their season off with a win. Excellent recovery for Penn State. Looking for a positive recovery in next season. Virginia taking it to SEC team and demonstrating that you're a good program, and the ACC is actually doing really well this year. Houston, I love Houston, taking it to LSU, and Houston's no-name defense won. They won against LSU, and LSU, lost this game, but very, very happy with Houston Cougars, both of the Cougars that are in the Big 12, but there we are. And then one game that I thought I wanted to pay attention to, but I wasn't paying attention enough to know that it was happening, and I feel really bad about that, was the TCU USC game. What a fantastic finish for TCU. They ended up winning by 3. I picked them to win only by 2. So I was close with the margin of victory. Almost got a quarter point there. But TCU comes up with the win to give the Big 12 another bowl win. Excellent job for TCU. Texas showing up against Michigan, and I predicted that Texas was going to blow Michigan out of the water. I think I had it 53-17 or something. Now, it wasn't quite that much of a blowout. That was a bit of an exaggeration. Michigan ended up being a lot more together than I thought they were going to be. The locker room was not nearly as chaotic as I thought it was, but more than 40 points. Arch Manning has definitely recovered from those first couple of weeks this season, and his senior season is going to be something to behold, I think. I think Arch Manning is going to have a really, really good year next season. If he doesn't go to the draft. I don't know if he can, actually. Feel free to roast me in the comments if I'm missing some details on there, but I'm pretty sure he's coming back for his senior year at Texas. So, yeah, excellent job for Texas. And then Iowa beating up, beating up Vanderbilt. I forgot who they played. I was reading my note and I couldn't. Yeah, so much chicken scratch on my notes. I gotta space them out to give you guys a better viewing experience. But yeah, Vanderbilt ending their year on a low note, and Diego Pavia not showing up to win this game. I feel kind of bad, but the more I learn about Diego Pavia, the more I get the ick, to quote what people used to say a couple years ago. But man, I hope that man has some humble pie given to him as a result of really how last season ended also, and this postseason as well. I hope if he goes to the NFL that he is able to find some success. I don't wish him ill. I just, man, the more I watch him, the more I'm just like, ew. He's a great player, but there's just this affect about him that's just really gross. Really gross. Sorry, Pavia, but there we are. And then Duke wins their bowl game. And I think Duke is the best 5-loss team in college football. They're ACC champs. There's a hair somewhere, so that's why I'm adjusting my hat. We're going to make this a great viewing experience as we get more along in here. Help me get to monetization. Like, share, and subscribe. Please leave comments. But yeah, especially subscribe if you like any of my takes that you'll hear. But yeah, Duke absolutely dominating. And then Utah concluding their season as well, ending their 5-in-a-row bowl loss streak, and then ending their streak of having 3 or more losses every single year except for COVID year, but that's an asterisk year because they only played 5 games. But they ended their streak of 3 or more losses every single year since 2008 when they went undefeated. Good job to Utah. Good job, Devin Dampier. It's going to be a tough game next season. BYU of Utah. It's going to be a tough game next season. But yeah, those are the games that I wanted to talk about. And then I got to talk about that Mississippi State Wake Forest game. Another good game. I watched the most of the fourth quarter at least for that. But to have an extra point, a defensive extra point return, I've never seen that, and we have seen this season 2-point conversions be run back multiple times, and now we've seen an extra point blocked and run back to bring them within 1 score. Of course, Wake Forest will go on to score on the next play and seal it, and seal it with the extra touchdown because Michigan State's quarterback carted off the field in the last 2 minutes of the game. Everyone felt for that man. There was such a somberness in that stadium. You got to feel bad for just how that ended, and we hope for his recovery. We hope for their success in the future. But hope he recovers and all that kinds of stuff. Now we got to talk about the other chants that were involved. We talk on this channel about some controversial chants that were chanted throughout the season, and in this game, there was no exception. The Wake Forest crowd, having just gone up 2 scores in the last 3 minutes of the game, chanted SEC, 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 because it just means more excuse making. Excuses, excuses, excuses. We'll break this down a little bit more. You had 1 bowl win this season. SEC 1. The absolute worst of all the Power 4 conferences. Abysmal bowl showing. And if bowls don't matter to you, that means that you're fine quitting on the last game of the season. Looking at you, Auburn. But there we are. There we are. And without further ado, let's get into the breakdowns of the bowls by conference. Let's do the group of 5. The American Conference, I think, pretty easily takes first place here amongst the group of 5 conferences. We got to mention the Pac-12 because there was only 1 bowl game and they won that one. So you won your one, Pac-12. Good job. We'll count you next year when you have more teams. In the group of 6 conferences, I guess, is what we'll do. But American Conference went 5 of 3 in their bowl games. They had 8 participants. They actually went 2-1 against Power 4 conference play, which excellent postseason for them, I think. Very, very good. 5-3, 8 bowl eligible teams, 2-1 against Power 4. A little bit unfortunate in the playoffs, though. You had 1 participant in the playoff and 1 loss in your 1 playoff game, and it wasn't close. Very sad about that. And then going on to the Sun Belt, ended up being 4-4 in your bowls. So just a little bit under the American Conference, 8 participants again, and 1 playoff participant. Not as much of a shutout, but not a great showing for JMU against the Oregon Ducks. The Oregon Ducks, though, they're a great team. Going on to Conference USA, they went 4-3 in their 7 games. They didn't play any Power 4 conference teams. Now on to the MAC. We're getting to the below 500 in the bowl categories now. The MAC went 2-3 of their 5 participants, and then they went 0-2 against Power 4 play. Mountain West Conference. I'm hitting my tripod again. I'm going to scoot backwards. There we go again. So this amateur production here, but help me get monetized and we can make it better. But Mountain West Conference. Really sad. Mountain West Conference 2-5 amongst your 7 games, and you went 1-2 against Power 4 teams. Very, very sorry, Mountain West Conference. BYU used to be part of that conference, and sorry, guys. That did not play well this season. Did not play well this postseason. But those are the group of 5 teams. I did the best that I could with these numbers. I always could, of course, make an error. And if I do, feel free to torch me in the comments. And then if you like anything that I'm sharing, please let me know what you're liking. If you're not liking what I'm sharing, please let me know why. I want to learn and I want to grow. Please torch me in the comments if I get some of these wrong. Or if you just hate my takes. Or if you just want to gripe about how much of an SEC hater I am, however justified that is. On to Power 4 play. The ACC did excellent in bowls this season. 6-4 in their 10 appearances in bowl play. I don't think that anyone... there are no conferences that had 10 invitations to bowls except for the ACC. I think we should take that into account. 10 bowl participants for the ACC, and they won 6 out of 10 of them. Excellent job. And they did go 500 against group of 5 teams, 2-2. So that's not the best, but Miami is showing up. I mentioned in my last video that I do think BYU still deserve to get in instead of Miami, but Miami is showing that they are one of the top teams in college football. And they've gone 2-0 in playoff games. They have either 1 or 2 games left in the playoffs, and they've played 2 and will have 3 or 4 total playoff games. But if anyone would have told you that Miami, after the season they've had, was going to have 3 playoff games and possibly a 4th if they beat Ole Miss, you would have been driven out of town on Crazy Town. But ACC, excellent showing. Absolutely excellent showing here. We're going to go on to the Big Ten. Now, the Big Ten had 1 fewer bowl game, still 6 wins, 6-3. I am going to say that the Big Ten has 1 bowl season, though, because they went 3-0 against Group of 5 play. And undefeated against Group of 5 play, and then also getting two byes in the playoffs, and then 3 participants total. 4 participants total. What did my notes say? Yeah, 3 participants. Yeah, torch me in the comments all you want. But because of that, I think that the Big Ten definitely gets first place amongst all of Power 4 conferences in their bowl play. So 6-3 between their 9 games, 3-0 against Group of 5. They had 2 teams that get first round byes, and they've gone 3-1 in the playoffs. Ohio State is the only team to lose a playoff game. Now, the hard part about that is the 2 remaining Big Ten teams are playing against each other next round. So one of them's going to win, one of them's going to lose. But that brings us to, there are 2 games left for the Big Ten, definitely, no matter what happens. And they will have played 6 games total in the playoffs. Absolutely outstanding performance in playoff play for the Big Ten. Except for Ohio State. Sorry, guys. Reigning champs were defeated. Moving on to the Big 12, the conference that I represent as a BYU fan. 4-3 between 7 games. I had predicted that we would go 7-0. I'm a bit disappointed about that. We'll break down the disappointments of this a little bit more. We also went 0-2 against Group of 5 teams. That is super disappointing. We had 1 first-round bye with our 1 participant, Texas Tech, but we saw how well that went yesterday. Very, very sad showing for the Big 12 in playoff play. There's some bright shining moments once again with TCU beating USC, and then BYU having that miraculous win against Georgia Tech. There were great moments. It's just really, really hard to celebrate all those moments when you don't have a single playoff win, especially when you were given the first round bye. We'll get to the whole first round bye stuff, but sorry, Texas Tech. You're really disappointing there. And now their quarterback knows how Bear Bachmeier felt in that conference championship game. They played one game. They got no games left, which makes one game total in which they scored no points. Really disappointing. But not nearly as disappointing as the bowl performance of the SEC. You had one bowl win in these games. Absolutely ridiculous. In your 6 bowl games, you had one win. That was Texas against Michigan. Excellent win. None of your other games were great. And yeah, you had one team have a first round bye, and they lost. You had 5 participants, and you went. Now the numbers here are a little bit hard to calculate accurately, so I gave a few different situations. The SEC is 3-4 in playoff play this year, so they're under 500 in playoff play. That is also taking into account that 2 of those games were going to be 500 just anyways because they were involving 2 SEC teams. But Texas A&M, a field goal against Miami, and then Alabama, a field goal against Indiana. That isn't quite as disappointing as no points from Texas Tech, but you had 5 teams in the playoffs, and only one of them are going on to the semifinals. You kind of cannibalized yourself with how the seeding was, but 3 points against Miami and 3 points against Indiana. Absolutely abysmal performances in those games specifically. Good job for Ole Miss in being the sole remaining team in the SEC. Maybe you'll win. It's hard for me to pick you going forward. I'll be honest, but that makes 5 games played, but with how it works, like it was effectively 7 because 2 of those games had 2 participants. Now there's at least 1 game left, if not 2. If Ole Miss wins, they'll have their second and final game. So that makes between 6 and 7 games that you've played total, and up to effectively 9 playoff games total if Ole Miss wins and goes on to the playoffs, the national championship game. So, yeah, Big Ten, first place, absolutely first place, and I think the ACC should be very pleased with their season as well. Big Ten, obviously very pleased with their season. Big 12 and the SEC should be really disappointed, honestly. Barely above 500 in bowls. No wins in the Big 12. Barely above 500 in bowls. No wins in the playoffs. And then the SEC, once again, 1 bowl win. 1. And then under 500 in the playoffs so far. Only have 1 participant in the semifinals. I don't think they're getting to the national championship game. Now that I'm thinking about things, I would not count out this Miami team. They have demonstrated why they were ranked as high as 2 in the nation earlier. So ACC, hold your head up high. Big Ten, hold your head up high. Big 12 and the SEC, bad year. Bad year. Yeah, I am going to say bad year for both of those. And then Big 12 had a first round bye and no wins. Again, my playoff picks were absolutely busted. There we are. And to anyone who is saying that the group of 5, what was a DEI situation, the SEC situation is looking a lot more like a DEI situation than all the others because of yeah, you had to have 5 teams in, of course. You only had 3 in last year, but there we are. And yeah, the SEC has 1 bowl win, and once again, they only have 1 team in the semifinals, despite getting 5 teams in the playoffs. Yeah, I'm rehashing a bunch of stuff, so I'm going to move on to my next points. The biggest disappointment in this bowl season for me is the number of opt-outs. And so the group of 5 had 1, and every Power 4 conference had dropouts. Notre Dame, obviously, we've harped them enough. The Big 12 had 5 teams decide they weren't going to play. And 3 of those were under 500, and they were given an opportunity to play in a bowl game, and they said, nah, we're good. So I'm really disappointed in Iowa State, Kansas State, Kansas, Baylor, and UCF. And then the other teams, FSU, Auburn, Rutgers, Temple, and, of course, Notre Dame. I remember 2 years ago that all the players were like, oh, Florida State didn't get into the playoffs. Why are we even playing these games? We quit. What have any of those players done since they quit Florida State? What have any of those players done? When you opt out of your bowl game, that is not a winner's mentality. That is not a winner's mentality. And all of these teams they put a really big black mark on the Big 12, if I'm going to be honest. I'm really disappointed in just the quitter's mentality. Iowa State and Kansas State especially. You guys were bowl eligible. And Iowa State has no excuses, in my mind. They were favored to win and then they didn't. Oh, okay, that happens. You did not have an atrociously awful, terrible season, Iowa State. Kansas State at least has the disappointment factor going in, the horrible disappointment factor going in. Barely at 500 Kansas State, and I'm sorry about that. But when you opt out of your bowl game, you don't demonstrate that you have deserved the opportunity in the first place. And then all these teams that had 5 and 7 records, and you still got an opportunity to go to the bowl games even though you had a 5 and 7 record. It just turning your nose up at the opportunity, and it's a quitter's mentality, opting out of bowl games. And I think Miami has set a precedent that is kind of difficult to combat, because Miami getting in such controversial fashion and doing as well as they did kind of validates the shenanigery that went on. I think Miami has capitalized on the situation excellently. I also think that has negative ramifications for how future playoffs are going to go. I think teams that deserve to go are not going to go. And the precedent has been set like this, that shenanigery is sometimes appropriate in order to get the best teams in. And then you have Alabama and Oklahoma in. Ooh, abysmal showings from Texas A&M and Alabama. The Alabama-Oklahoma game regrettably was a good game, but I don't think either of those teams are in the top 15. I hashed out my thoughts on those. Anyways, so I have a couple of ways that we can fix the playoffs, and I want to hash those out. We got to start with 16 teams, no first-round buys. The first-round buys are 1 and 7 now. 1 out of 8 games. 1 win, 7 losses. We got to get rid of it. No more first-round buys. For whatever reason, it doesn't work in college football. I don't understand how it works in the NFL differently than the college football. If you have any thoughts, leave them down in the comments section. But, yeah. Here are my fixes. You cannot play any teams outside of Division I and be considered for the playoffs. You cannot play a single team that is not a Division I team and be considered for the playoffs. there are no auto bids for anyone outside of the 20th ranking. So 21 and above, you cannot get an auto bid. Even if you are one of the top 5 best conference champions, you cannot get an auto bid. Unless, and so I'll say the next one then. You cannot have 3, this is where the caveat comes in. So no auto bids if you are outside of the top 20. You must, you cannot play any teams outside of Division 1, and you have to have, feel free to torch me in the comments. Must play games inside of the Division 1, and no auto bids for anyone ranked outside of the top 20. You also need to not have any more than 2 losses in the regular season. If you have 3 losses or more in the regular season, you should not be considered for the playoffs. And that's the regular season. And then there's going to be some caveat to that. Unless you are a conference champion who is ranked inside of the top 20, and or there are fewer than 12 teams who have 3 or fewer than 3 losses. If you only have 6 teams that have 2 losses or fewer, obviously you gotta fill the things. But if you have 3 regular season losses, you should not be considered outside of certain extenuating circumstances that I just laid out. If you are a conference champion participant, you should be weighted as though you either have 1 fewer loss than you do, or if you are undefeated, 1 more win. That'll help with seeding and tiebreakers and all that kinds of stuff. You must be in a conference. No more rules to allow Notre Dame to just do whatever the crap they want and abide by their own set of rules. You must be in a conference in order to be considered for the playoffs. So those are my solutions. 16 teams, no buys, no automatic bids if you're outside the top 20. You cannot play any team outside Division 1 if you want to be considered. And for the conference, you must be in a conference that has 9 teams or more. You cannot have 3 regular season losses. And if you're a conference champion, you will be weighted as though you either have 1 fewer loss than you do or 1 more win than you do. And I have one more idea. We should reseed after round 1. And I think that'll help a lot of things. We might be able to even reseed after round 1 and keep the first round buys, but the rules got to change. Anyways, this is getting to be one of the longer videos that I've ever recorded, so if you like my takes, please let me know in the comment section. Leave a like and share to your friends if you want. If you did not like any of my takes, I do want to know, so feel free to torch me in the comments appropriately. But yeah, let's go for the rest of college football playoff season, and this has been Newbie Sports.